Hi guys, this is John back with another modelling video. Today I'm not doing an inbox review and I'm not doing a final reveal. Last year I did a video clip on Matchbox Models, which is something quite close to my heart, and the company themselves were some of my first model builds that I ever built myself. They weren't the first kits I ever bought, but they were the first kits that I ever produced and finished myself. My brother helped me out with an awful lot of other kits, other companies' kits, but Matchbox were the company that I tended to go back to time and time again. And the first kit I ever produced and built and finished myself was actually an FW190 Matchbox 72nd scale kit. And I looked back at that video and a lot of the comments on that video, and it suddenly dawned on me that there's a lot of companies out there that have a lot to offer, and there's also a lot of companies out there that maybe people should be aware of what the problems are with them. So I've decided to do a series of clips about model companies and what they offer us, how they can deceive us and how they can make things look better than they actually are, and also how they can be good news for us. And the company that I'm actually going to do the video on tonight is they've been accused of a lot of deceit to the modelling industry, but they've also produced a product, the end product, which in my opinion is actually quite good news for modellers on a whole, all over the world, because this company sells kits all over the world. I just want to raise up the information sheet. It shouldn't blot out the camera, but I'll raise the information sheet and then we'll be able to go through what they actually mean. The company I'm going to do the video clip on tonight is Academy Hobby Model Kits. This company is often mistaken for Minicraft kits because the company produces a range of models which are 144 scale aircraft under the designation Hobby Minicraft Models. And there's another company in America called Minicraft Models, and one company is American and the other company is part of Academy. Now, Academy Hobby Models was founded on the 1st of September 1969 by a man called Sun Hwan Kim, and he headquartered his company at first in a place called Gyeongbu in South Korea. The company now has holdings in Seoul, the capital of South Korea, in Gelsenkirchen in Germany, and Rosario in Cavite province in the Philippines. Now, I think that the Seoul holdings is a factory manufacturing plastic parts. I think Gelsenkirchen is a distribution company and maybe a boxing company who boxes the plastic parts in boxes for the European market, and Rosario in Cavite province in the Philippines I think is a company that does the same thing as a German company but for the Far East, where they rebox their kits for the Asian market and Australia. Now, Academy Hobby Model Kits weren't originally a plastic scale model producer. They produced a number of commercial products made of plastic which were intended to replace things which previously were made of metal. They did things like plastic pipes and features for houses and things, but it became very apparent to Sun Hwan Kim that the scale plastic modelling industry was booming, and by the middle of the 1972-73 era they started to build scale plastic model kits. But that wasn't the only thing that they produced. Later in their career they also went into a line of radio control model kits and educational construction kits and toys. And they also produced a range of, if you like, BB guns for the airsoft market. And the airsoft market 1-to-1 scale replica guns, the Academy model kits are very, very popular, especially in the Far East and the Australasian market, and there's quite a few sold in Europe as well. Now then, The initial line of plastic model kits comprised of a 1/35th range of military vehicles and tanks and figures, and these were quite heavily slated by the modelling industry as being direct copies of Tamiya kits and Tamiya figures. But because of the production levels of quality of their tooling, they didn't quite have the benchmark line that Tamiya produced, and so they were slated by the organisation. They were slated by the industry as a whole. And Academy, it took quite a while for the company to catch on with the serious modelers, but these kits were released for an awful lot less money than the Tamiya counterparts, and so their popularity grew reasonably quickly with people who were novice builders and new to the industry. Then they branched out later in, I would say, about 1972-73 era into 72nd scale models of aircraft and 48 scale models of aircraft, and these were of generally much higher quality, and their mouldings are more or less flash free and very clean and crisp. However, again, they were slated by the industry, as a lot of their 72nd scale kits that they released were of single-engined World War II fighters that appeared to be direct copies of Hasegawa's range, and the 48 scale aircraft, especially their helicopters, appeared to be direct copies of again Hasegawa kits that were released in the late 70s. However, the overall quality of their kits are actually quite reasonable, and this prevailed with their popularity, and the sales soared, especially in the early to mid 80s. The aircraft models, the model subjects covered are scale aircraft in 1/144th. These are the kits that are often called Academy Minicraft. The 1/100th scale kits, 1/72nd scale, 48th, 35th and 1/32nd scale. In virtually every single scale there has been rumours and accusations of copying other people's work, but I'm going to be honest with you, they're not the only company that does it, are they? There are a lot of companies that actually rebox other people's work, other companies' work, in their own boxes and pass it off as themselves, this is definitely a such and such kit and whatnot. We'll get into them when I do later video clips. They also do military vehicles and tanks in 72nd scale, although they are a limited range in that scale, and also 1/48th and 35th, but the 48th and 35th usually come in two types of boxings. They often come in just a plain tank kit or a plain vehicle kit, or they come in a remote or radio controlled option. And the radio controlled option or the remote control option, the radio control option is usually more, but the remote control option is usually standard in the kit, but it's an option to build it if you want to or not. They do a range of ships in 1/800th, 700th, 600th, 400th, 350th, 200th, 150th and 72nd, and they also do a range of ships in what's described as non-defined scale for that range. It's where they're built to a scale but all the kits are of different scales, so they just mark them as non-defined. Virtually every single scale that they've built ships in, they've been accused of copying other companies. 1/800th is Taleri, 1/700th is Tamiya, Aoshima and Fujimi. 1/600th scale, not an awful lot of accusation there, but to be honest with you, the Airfix kit I think is the Academy kit of the 600th scale Titanic. The 400th scale kits, I haven't seen a copy of this from anyone, and incidentally the Titanic in 400 scale is an absolute gem. It's definitely worth a bash if you fancy a Titanic on your shelf. The 1/350th scale range of kits, they often are similar to the range that Tamiya have released, but they're released sort of 8 to 10 months after the Tamiya release, and I think this is why they've been accused of copying Tamiya models. 1/200th, 1/50th and 72nd, I haven't seen any accusations for these models at all. They produce cars in 1/25th, which are often direct copies of Tamiya models, and 1/24th, again the same problem. And they also build a range of veteran cars in 1/16th, and I think you'll find that Revell build a couple of veteran cars in 1/16th scale. They build a range of 1/10th scale motorcycles, And they also build a bicycle in 1/6 scale, which I've never seen in real life, but I've seen photographs of the boxings, and it looks quite nice. They also do a range of 1:1 scale Lifelike guns, and these are a direct copy of the LS range. I'm not sure whether they bought them lock, stock and barrel, or whether they just impression molded, copied the boxings and just passed them off as their own. I'm not sure, but these kits are identical to the LS range. They also do a range of specialized kits, usually Leonardo da Vinci kits, which are the drawings made into plastic models, and of educational kits, which cover things like working beam engines and internal combustion engines, and even animated products like a miniature hovercraft or a beetle. I've seen models of other things as well, but they don't come to mind at the moment. They also do a range of radio-controlled trucks and trailers in 1/14th and 1/25th scale tanks as well. These kits are all radio-controlled. There's no wire links to them. But the trucks, I must state that the trucks and trailers in 1/14th scale are so lifelike that if you put them in the correct environment on a tarmac base, these kits look real. I've seen several photographs of Academy 14th scale trucks made up, and I can't tell the difference from the real thing, because the builder often puts them in a car park, sets the camera up at such an angle that he's got real trucks and trailers behind the model, and the model blends in so well because the quality of the kit is so good you can't tell the difference. But believe me, they're made of plastic, and they're 1/14th in scale. The tanks are very good, 25th scale tanks. They're probably not as good as the 1/16th scale Tamiya tanks, but for 25th scale the overall quality of the vehicle and the finish is quite good. They also do a range of 1/10th scale racing cars. Now, these racing cars are mini four-wheel drive racing cars, and they're designed to run on a deeply channeled track in direct competition with each other, and they look like a direct copy of the Tamiya range. In actual fact, the chassis that incorporate the motors and the final drive to the four-wheel drive wheels are virtual direct copies of the Tamiya kits, and some of the body shells that they've put onto these chassis they're pretty close to what Tamiya produce as well. They have got some of their indigenous designs from Academy as well. Now then, although Academy in the past have copied kits direct from Tamiya and, say, a number of other companies, finding kits released by, say, Hasegawa and Tamiya and finding them strangely featured as Academy models soon after released is a common thing, and this is one of the reasons why I think Academy have been accused so many times. But I think it's just, in a lot of intents and purposes, they're reading the market, and they're reading the market reasonably well, and they tend to undercut their rivals usually by about 20%, maybe 15–20%, and this is why Academy models are very popular in places like the Far East, and they're quite popular in America as well. Now, like other companies, I've mentioned this subject with Matchbox, because Matchbox have produced some pretty shocking kits. Academy have produced 3 particularly shocking kits, and these have all been slated by professional reviewers and IPMS builders. The first one of these is the first tall Abram M1A1 MBT Abrams tank. The main issue with it is that it was moulded too short, and the tank has an appearance of being too wide and too high, and it just looks distinctly odd. And Academy, after a few years, realised they had to do something with their Abrams tank, and they retooled the Abrams tank. And if you want an Academy Abrams tank, you want to try and get the new tooling kit, because all of the issues from the first tooling kit were corrected in this model, and I think you'll find it's related to the Iraqi freedom operation. There's some description or relative message on the top of the box that relates the kit to the Iraqi freedom campaign. They also did 2 aircraft in 1/48th. The first of these was the first tooling F15 Eagle, which apparently is a right pig to assemble, and some of the parts don't fit hardly at all, and there's an awful lot of preparatory work, far more than is normally necessary. The other one is the first tooling F111. aardvark, which apparently is so bad a fit that you will never ever build this kit without filler. It is absolutely dreadful. But Academy again have retooled both these two kits, and I think the F15 Eagle is the F15 C and D now, and they also retooled the F15 E from the second tooling and put additional parts in it to produce the Strike Eagle. The F111 has been redesignated with a new tool from the F111A and C to the F111E and FB111A, and this kit apparently has been corrected to a satisfactory standard, at least. That's probably the best I can say. Now then, conclusions. I personally like Academy kits. I think they're cheap, especially on the second-hand market, and they're often available for as little as £2 or £3 on eBay if you go for a 72nd scale aircraft. Their moulds are crisp and clean, and the plastic is pretty good quality, and the range of subjects and kits are extensive. Their range is certainly a lot bigger than Airfix's present range, and probably pushing towards Revell's present range, which is absolutely enormous. I also have to say that the rumours behind kit copying is, up to now, for me anyway, it's unfounded, as I haven't really found any identical sprues to back this claim up, apart from one, which I'll show you in a minute. I haven't seen any identical sprues from any other model from any other company of any of their kits that they release, except for their early military release 35th scale vehicles and figures that do look remarkably like the Tamiya equivalents of around about 1970s. So what I want to do quickly now, before I close this this video, is I just want to show you what you can expect from an Academy kit. This particular kit, I believe, was £6.99. Don't think it was a lot of money. I bought it brand new in a shop, and basically, I'll just show you the image. Here you go. This is a 1/72nd scale F16A fighting Fulton. The thing about this particular kit is actually a YF16A, and it's interesting because the boxing there shows the first prototype and the first pre-production prototype, the YF16 and the YF16A. The YF16 is the red, white and blue one in the background, and the YF16A is this one, which they evaluated an awful lot of different camo patterns to see which one worked best for the F16, eventually going with a two-tone grey. Now then, what you get inside the box is a nice hairy fairy box lid, but the actual boxes are quite strong, they're quite sturdy, and they won't crush like a lot of Revell kits do in your stash. I just want to get the parts out quickly so I can just show you. You always get one of these in an Academy box. I don't even know what it is because it's all in Chinese. All of it is in Chinese, German or French or Japanese or Arabic. So I've got no idea what it's for. It's probably a return slip for missing parts or whatnot. The decal sheet always comes in a separate bag, and it's usually separate from the parts. The instruction leaflet, this one is a particularly simple one because the kit is quite a simple kit, although generally in Academy kits they're always very, very easy to follow, very informative, with a colour plan on one side and the instruction plan on the other, and the kits are usually relatively simple to build. And the parts bag, this is really funny and interesting because the parts bag, it doesn't matter how crap the kit is in terms of quality, detail and size, the kits usually have one or two sprues, at the most 2 sprues in each separately packed bag, and this one is no exception. This kit actually has 3 sprues, but the reason for that is because inside this bag there is a transparency sprue, which, as you can see, is clearly wrapped in a separate protective bag as well. And they do this to protect the transparency part. And I've never had a transparency which is damaged from an Academy kit. I've built a couple, and I've been reasonably impressed with the overall quality of what you get. The other kit that I want to show you, partly because I want to show you that what you get in all their kits is it's a bit like going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac. You always get the same thing. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, even if you go to Australia, China, Russia, a Big Mac is a Big Mac, it's always the same. And an Academy kit, what you get inside the box is always the same. This is a kit with twice as many parts in it. It's twice as detailed as the F16, but this kit has been absolutely slated and accused of being a Hasegawa copy. And I am now going to show you why I know it's not a Hasegawa copy. I'll take the box lid off again. This box is pretty beaten, it's, you know, but it's sturdy and it's not crushed in my stash. I'll take the plastic out. Let's take the gear out here. There we go. We've got a couple of extra slips here. This is an instruction sheet to show you how and which tools and how to use them when building plastic models. That's a nice touch. It's a more modern touch. We've got this sheet again here. It's a bit larger this time, but it's the same colour and it's all in the same language as everything except English. And this kit, because it has two separate versions and decals for two separate versions, actually has a separate colour call out for painting the model up and decaling it. There we go. But you still have an individually wrapped, nicely plastic coated wrapped decal sheet. And the other thing I want to say about Academy decals is they're really good. The quality on them is really, really good. When I built the Typhoon, it had decal invasion stripes, and they all went on without any bubbles, without any problems, without any issues whatsoever, and they looked spiffing. They looked really good. The instruction leaflet is pretty similar to the one you got in the F16, although this kit has twice as many parts because there's twice as much to put together in the Bronco as opposed to the F16. But the Hasegawa version of this kit is actually the Frog kit, or maybe the Frog kit is the Hasegawa version of the Bronco, which is reboxed and Frog kit. And I'm building that kit now. It's on my build table, virtually finished. It just needs finishing painting prior to the decals going on. And I'm looking at these instructions right now, and I can definitely tell you that this is not the Hasegawa kit. For a start, the Hasegawa kit had pilots, right? And the seats and the interior floor pan was built together like a bathtub. It was nothing like that. The interior of this kit is far more truer to the real aircraft than the Hasegawa kit was. And I know because I've seen photographs of the Bronco's interior, because I always get interior photographs when I'm doing instruments and interior colours and things like that. And that is much better and much more accurate than the Hasegawa kit. Also, the airframe itself is just, it's just nothing like the Hasegawa kit. The twin booms, they're better detailed and moulded. The exhaust pipes are in two halves. In the Hasegawa kit they're one part moulded onto the side, but in this kit they're two parts, which means they're going to be hollow. The undercarriage legs in each of the three wheel wells of the Hasegawa kit, they're just a flat plate, like a lot of early Airfix kits were. In this kit, as you can clearly see, they have proper wheel wells. Can you see on the twin booms there? And in the forward fuselage, you've got a wheel well attached to the underside of the cockpit interior, and a wheel well attached to the forward sections of the booms there. And the undercarriage oleo legs and the wheels are far more detailed than they are on the Hasegawa kit. Everything about this model is saying to me it's not a Hasegawa kit, apart from one thing, right, which I think they might have took from the Hasegawa kit. And it's the only sprue I've ever seen in real life that looks to me like the Hasegawa kit. I just want to show you quickly also the detail and the quality of the parts, because what you get in an Academy kit is a level of quality, it's a benchmark if you like, and they are all built to the same standard. The texture, the finished texture on the wings on this kit is far superior to the Hasegawa model. The actual finish and the plastic, the quality of the plastic used is far superior to the Hasegawa model. The softness of the plastic is more workable than the Hasegawa model, and the method of construction is different to the Hasegawa model. This kit is more like Italieri parts. The quality of the plastic is more like Italieri parts, and the detail on them is absolutely spot on. The detail on the kits is really good. It's probably not, in terms of texture of finish on the plastic parts, as good as a Tamiya kit, or maybe some of the trumpeter models and the new toolings of the Airfix kits, which in my opinion are absolutely fantastic, but they're not bad. The Academy kits toolings and finish are pretty good. Now, I'm not going to show you the rest of the parts of this sprue apart from this in this sprue bag, apart from this sprue here. The transparency sprue on this kit, it looks just like the one in the frog kit. It is the same, it's identical. The positioning of all the parts in the sprue are identical. The finishing, the depth of the frame, the actual overall transparencies, you could probably swap them over. They're that close. The only difference that there is with this transparency as opposed to the Hasegawa frog kit is that it has a navigation light included on the sprue. But how hard is it to incorporate that once you've got the sprue already engineered? You just poke a hole out and away it goes. It's done and dusted. But all in all, I think for the overall cost of the kits, as I said, I've seen them, especially on the second-hand market. The second-hand market, Academy kits do not hold their price. They're probably as terrible at holding their price as some Revel kits are of, say, 80s era and early 90s era. They don't hold their price either, often because Revel don't actually box their own kits, they box other people's kits. In that era they were prolific for it. But Academy, they produce a reasonable quality product, and you can buy them for usually about £5 for a 72nd scale half-size decent kit. I think I paid £6.99 for that F15 brand new. I don't think I paid much more than that, maybe £7.99 at the most. It wouldn't have been any more than that. And this Academy Bronco, I bought that second hand off eBay, and I'm pretty sure it cost me £3.99. So you can buy these kits really, really cheap, and they're not a bad return for your money. They're a good return for your money. So all in all, as far as I'm concerned, I would recommend Academy kits, especially to the novice builders, because they're very easy to build. They're nicely engineered to fit together reasonably well, and I've never built an Academy kit yet that I've needed to use filler on, apart from when I built the Typhoon 1B for the buddy build. On the Spiffy Tiffy build, I did have to put some filler on the forward edge of the wing and the rear edge of the wing where it met the fuselage halves, because there was a minor gap. It wasn't much, it was just tiny, and it was basically just a little scrape of filler and sand it down. It was done and dusted in a couple of hours, sorted, ready for paint. But all the other Academy kits, I've never needed to use filler on them at all, and I'm not expecting to need to use filler on either of these two. I think these two will build up really nicely. So overall, Academy kits, yeah, I'll go for one. I'll buy them, no problem whatsoever. If you see a subject, like for a project you want to build, and there's an Academy kit on the market, as long as it's not one of those Howlers I mentioned, you should get a pretty decent return for your money, and you should get an end result that you'll be pretty satisfied with. So that's this video for now. I hope this video has been of some use, and I hope that if the response from this video is good enough, I'll probably do a number more. I definitely want to do one on Airfix, and I definitely want to do one on Revel without any question whatsoever, because those two companies have got so much that I need to say. But Academy, yeah, not a bad option. I'll be happy, and I'd recommend them thoroughly. So that's it for now, lads. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching all my videos. Thanks for the subbers, fantastic support in the comments. I really appreciate all your support and help. If there's anything that you need research on, or anything at all about Academy kits or even Matchbox kits that I've done the review, the overviews on, don't hesitate to put a question in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks very much for all your support, and I'll see you again for the next video. Bye bye.